Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's garden update where the countdown is on because we've only got about 4 weeks left until spring arrives and approximately about 6 weeks until our last frost. So during the week I really got stuck into sowing seeds, which I'll show you a little bit later. But first, let's have a look at how my garden is starting to wake up from its winter slumber. There are so many signs that spring is on the horizon. All of the wattle buds are opening up. I'm going to pick a big bunch of these sweet scented blooms when I head back inside so I can enjoy them indoors. Another sign that a new season is just poking its head around the corner is what I've noticed popping through the soil outside the raised garden bed area. It's these little pointy shoots which are from my gladioli bulbs. I'm a bit annoyed with myself because I accidentally broke off a few tips from the other bulbs in this patch, which I didn't notice when I was trying to clear out this area. And what I mean by clearing out this patch is trying to remove all of the mint that has creeped its way into this section. It has just gone absolutely everywhere. A mistake I made a few years ago and I'm still paying for it now. Always put mint in a container and you'll save yourself a lot of hassle over the years. And I'm telling you, it is a real rebel plant because even if you have it growing in a pot, you still need to keep an eye on it. It can grow out through the base and then send off these little runners, and before you know it, it's taken over the place. This particular variety is called chocolate mint, which does have a very subtle chocolate flavour. I actually used some of it last night in a couscous dish. There isn't a huge amount in the garden at the moment because it's still kind of semi-dormant, but come late spring, summer, it will be all over the place. Well, hopefully not after I pull some of it out. Another great use for this mint is to put it into beverages, especially during summertime on those really hot long days. It's really refreshing. And peas are back in the garden, a delicious spring crop which I really enjoy snacking on fresh off the plants when I'm out here gardening. These particular ones are snow peas. They're growing here on this trellis, which I have to admit that I only put up during the week. So I would say about 2 days ago, all of these plants were very neglected, lying over there in that patch, all tangled up together. I'm glad to say I finally took care of them and they seem quite happy here on this very simple structure, which is made out of chicken wire and a couple of stakes which I used during summertime to tie up my tomatoes. I find that pea plants have very delicate stems, so when I was detangling these and guiding them up this trellis, I made sure to be particularly careful because I really didn't want to damage any of these plants. Not only do we get these beautiful sweet crunchy peas, they've also got very pretty flowers. In fact, we get the flowers first, and over here I can see an example of the flower just starting to die off. And it's this in here where the pod forms, and then you eventually end up with these. Here's a couple of tips when you're harvesting them. Firstly, I would always start off with the ones at the bottom of the plant. Just give them a quick pull off, or you can use your secateurs like that. And then the best thing to do with these is eat them straight away. And the reason why you do this is because as soon as they're picked, the sugars in this pod start to convert into starch. I can't let it go to waste. Well, that's kind of a lie because my youngest kid is absolutely obsessed with these. If I didn't eat it, he would. Look what Autumn is doing. I still have a few seedlings in that container that I left over there, and she is picking away at them. That's why whenever I put new plants in the ground, I always have to make sure that I protect them. So here in this patch, I have some more peas which are different to the ones you just saw. These are called sweet peas. It's really important to mention that with sweet peas, they can actually be poisonous to humans and pets. You have to be very careful of these. They do form pods after they flower. You grow these for their beautiful, colourful, fragrant flowers, but you most certainly do not eat the pods, which are poisonous to humans and pets. So you need to be really careful that you don't get the two different types of pods confused. I have this little patch of snowdrops flowering. These remind me of Ireland. I remember seeing a lot of them when I was little, thinking how much do they look like little fairy hats. I can imagine some of them wearing these in winter or summer to protect their head. A very sweet, whimsical flower to grow, especially in a children's garden. And where I have them growing may surprise you. I actually popped the bulbs in here beside one of the raised garden beds. I think they really help to soften the edge, plus the fact that the soil in here between all of these raised beds is so rich with nutrients. It is like this because over the years I have been covering these pathways with bark which has broken down, and when I was clearing this out, clearing some of the weeds, I still have a lot to go, bits of grass and other things in here that I don't really want growing. When I was clearing this area out, digging it a little bit, I noticed so many worms, and I just want to see if it comes up on the camera. Look how dark that soil is. It is just garden gold. I'm even thinking what I might do is take off the top layer of this soil and use it elsewhere in the garden to feed my plants. And then what I'll do is I'll come in here covering the pathways once again with bark. But really that all depends on time. I mean, when you are a solo gardener, you really just have to pick and choose what to do. And I'm just thinking the pathways, mulching them, isn't really top of my list when I look at everything else that must be done over the next few weeks. Enjoying the rocket, are you? Autumn? I don't think you're meant to be in there. Out you get. Go on, shoo, shoo. Go on, out you get. Oh, I'm telling you, these chucks are absolutely spoilt. For me, this is the most exciting area in my garden. The little greenhouse popped up against the side wall, absolutely packed with potential. Over here in these two mini greenhouses, I have some freshly sown seeds. Well, actually I sowed them last Saturday, so they're almost a week old. Let me show you what's inside. The first one is tomatoes. I'm not sure how many plants I'm going to grow this year, but I have a lot of seeds, so I thought I might as well just throw them in, let them germinate, and then I can decide later on, because it's very difficult for me to choose which tomato plants to grow. And then in this one there are chilies, capsicums and eggplants. I've got some exciting stuff happening over here. Well, it's exciting to me at least. We take a look at this Pride of Mandaria or Echium. There are some flower buds on it. There's actually a lot on the plant with more on the way, so I'm thinking this could be the best year yet for its floral display. This original one over here has self-seeded over the years, putting out lots of little plant babies, one of which has got quite large now, and I'm thinking I'm going to get a lot of flowers off this one too. So there's going to be this huge drift, maybe about 4 meters in length, right across here, full of these beautiful blooms. And when I'm talking about blooms, I'm talking about absolutely huge flowers that are always packed with pollinators each spring. These perennial plants tend to last about 4 or 5 years, so I'm thinking in about a year or two, this particular one is going to look quite scraggly. If we come around to the back of it, you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. You can see how woody and leggy it is. It's actually kind of drooped over, and I'll probably just leave it like this for springtime. Usually it's better if you kind of prop it up, but I'm thinking if I do that, you'll be able to see a lot of this woody growth, which in my opinion isn't really one of its attractive features. And if anyone is wondering what this beautiful plant here is growing beside the Echium, this is a pelargonium. I was fortunate enough to be given some cuttings of this beautiful plant from my husband's grandma. And if you think it's looking good now, wait until the weather warms up and the sun gets to it. It turns into this most incredible lime green colour. There's a lot to be said about the importance of adding lovely foliage into your garden, adding beautiful texture and structure, like this pelargonium here. I mean, there's not one flower on it, but I think it just adds a lot of interest into the winter garden that, you know, is really lacking flowers at the moment. I'm back over by the wattle trees. I've just snapped off this big branch that I'm going to bring inside to the kitchen. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Stay safe and I'll see you again next Friday.